The 2016 NBA Finals was one of the most dramatic series in basketball history, began the documentary. The Cavs' comeback from 3-1 down, LeBron's block, Kyrie's championship shot. As the footage showed unforgettable moments from the finals, the narrator's voice suddenly changed. But there was a reality that never appeared on cameras, never shown in broadcasts: a heated argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson during a timeout in Game 6, kept secret until now. The words revealed for the first time appeared on screen. Today you'll hear the details of this secret confrontation through an audio recording leaked by a former Warriors assistant coach. Welcome to the Famous Stories channel. Whatever city you're watching from, please write it in the comments below. If you're curious about unknown and never before heard truths, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like our videos. The 2016 NBA Finals witnessed one of the most unforgettable moments not just in basketball history but in sports history as a whole. The Cleveland Cavaliers achieved an incredible comeback after falling behind 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors to win the championship. Led by LeBron James, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, the Cavaliers defeated the previous season's champions and the record-breaking 73-1 Warriors to make history. During the finals, all sports fans were on the edge of their seats. LeBron James's defensive play against Andre Iguodala, known as the block in Game 7, Kyrie Irving's championship-winning shot over Stephen Curry, Kevin Love's crucial defense against Curry, all these moments became part of basketball's most unforgettable highlights. However, behind the scenes of these iconic finals, an incident occurred that was never captured by television cameras or known to the sports press until now. An audio recording recently revealed by Brian Collins, a former Warriors assistant coach, has added a new dimension to the series. This recording contains a heated argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson during a timeout in Game 6, when the Cavaliers played at home and won 115-101. Rachel Nichols, host of ESPN's famous sports program The Jump, was the first to bring this issue to light. "We've received some very interesting information," Nichols said at the beginning of the program. During Game 6 of the 2016 NBA Finals, during a timeout when the TV broadcast went to commercial, there was a quite heated argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson. Brian Collins, a former Warriors assistant coach, has leaked this audio recording to the media. Nichols displayed a photo on screen, Brian Collins sitting beside Steve Kerr as a member of the Warriors coaching staff. Collins served as an assistant coach for the Warriors from 2014 to 2017. He was on the bench for both of the team's championships. However, he had to leave the team when his contract wasn't renewed in 2018. Rachel Nichols explained how the recording surfaced. Collins allegedly recorded this argument between LeBron and Klay during the timeout with his own phone. 3 days ago, in an email he sent to The Athletic, he shared the recording, saying, "It's time for the basketball world to learn this truth." The program began showing footage from the game where the argument took place. The Cavaliers were ahead for most of Game 6. LeBron James was delivering one of the most dominant performances of his career. 41 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 blocks, 3 steals. Meanwhile, Warriors stars Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson were struggling. Toward the end of the third quarter, Nichols continued, LeBron had made a powerful dunk after getting past Klay Thompson. Then, when Curry missed a three-pointer, LeBron grabbed the offensive rebound and scored again with a coast-to-coast drive. When Warriors coach Steve Kerr called a timeout, the score was 80-71 in favor of the Cavaliers. ESPN analyst and former NBA player Kendrick Perkins jumped in. "This is exactly when the incident broke out. When the TV broadcast went to commercial, the tension between LeBron and Klay reached its peak. The recording we're about to hear is from that moment." Rachel Nichols warned viewers, "The recording you're about to hear contains some strong language. We want to advise our sensitive viewers in advance." The words revealed for the first time appeared on screen and the audio recording began playing. In the background, typical timeout sounds could be heard: coaches giving tactics, players catching their breath, water bottles being opened, and then, clearly, 2 familiar voices were heard. Klay Thompson: "Hey LeBron, don't take this personally, but this show is getting old." LeBron James: "What show? I'm just playing ball." Klay Thompson: "No, you doing those little dance moves after every basket, those king gestures. We're playing as a team here while you're putting on a one-man show." LeBron James: "You won 73 games and now you're complaining. Come on Klay, you can do better than that." Klay Thompson: "We're up 3-1 in this series, don't forget. We're the ones making history, not you." LeBron James: "Really? Look at the score right now. Look at the series, who won the last 2 games? The momentum is with us, man." Klay Thompson: "This is still a man's league, you know. If your feelings get hurt, that's too bad." At this point, the voices in the recording became louder and more tense. LeBron James, wait, what did you just say? Say that again. Klay Thompson, you heard what I said. This is a man's league. When playing against players like you, we don't need the little games. LeBron James, players like me, what do you mean by that, Klay? Klay Thompson, your talent is undeniable, but constantly expecting fouls from the refs, falling down after every contact. LeBron James, what about Draymond? There was no problem when he was kicking our guys in the groin, right? Now there's a problem when I play physical. Klay Thompson, Draymond's situation is different. That was a momentary reaction. LeBron James, momentary reaction? It happened 3 times. You're losing control of the series and now you've started complaining. Klay Thompson, nobody's complaining. I'm just saying these tricks won't work, as the Warriors will come back and stop you again. LeBron James, really? You haven't been able to stop me so far, and I promise you we're going to win this series. We're going to come back from 3-1 down and become champions, and you'll have to watch it happen. There was a brief silence in the recording, then LeBron's voice was heard coming from closer. LeBron James, and Klay, if you talk to me in this tone again, you won't like the answer I'll show you on the court. Are we clear? Klay Thompson, are you threatening me? LeBron James, no, I'm making a promise. We're going to win this series and we'll be the ones making history, not you. Just then Steve Kerr's voice was heard. Klay, come on, we're reviewing the tactics. And the recording ended there. Rachel Nichols turned back to the studio, with a shocked expression on her face after the recording ended. That was the dialogue that took place in Game 6 of the 2016 Finals, never captured on camera. This argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson might have affected the course of the series. The program turned to its guest, former NBA player and current analyst Paul Pierce. Pierce had played for years as LeBron's rival with the Boston Celtics. Paul, what do you think about this audio recording? Nichols asked. Pierce laughed. Wow, I'm hearing this recording for the first time, and I can tell you that these kinds of arguments on the sidelines are more common than you might think. But this tension between LeBron and Klay isn't that surprising considering the atmosphere of the finals. Kendrick Perkins jumped in. I was LeBron's teammate when I played for the Cavaliers. I had never seen him this angry. Klay's man's league comment must have really triggered him. Rachel Nichols showed another piece of footage. A scene from the 4th quarter of Game 6. LeBron had beaten Klay Thompson during a fast break and made a powerful dunk. After the dunk, he looked at Thompson and said something to him. This moment was probably a continuation of that timeout argument, said Nichols. Until now, nobody knew what was behind this. Thanks to this audio recording, we now understand why LeBron specifically said something to Klay after that dunk. The program then connected via phone with basketball historian and journalist Howard Beck. Beck was one of the journalists who had covered the finals in person. Howard, you were there at that game. Were you aware of this argument? Nichols asked. To be honest, no, Beck replied. Press members aren't allowed close to the court during timeouts. But at the post-game press conference, I remember Klay's famous, "This is still a man's league. If your feelings get hurt, there's nothing you can do" statement. At the time, this comment seemed out of context, but now everything makes more sense. Rachel Nichols showed another piece of footage on screen. From the post-game press conference, Klay Thompson was at the microphone. "This is still a man's league. I guess his feelings got hurt. I don't know, it's a basketball game. I've heard a lot of bad things on the basketball court, so I'm not going to be shocked with anything." That's Klay's famous statement, said Nichols. Now we know that these words were actually a continuation of his argument with LeBron on the court. The program continued showing additional footage from the 4th quarter of Game 6. LeBron James had basically carried his team on his back during that quarter. Crucial points, assists and defensive plays. When the final buzzer sounded, the Cavaliers had won 115-101 and tied the series 3-2. LeBron finished the game with a total of 41 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 blocks and 3 steals, Nichols reminded viewers, and perhaps that timeout argument had further fueled his performance. In the next segment, the program showed footage from Game 7. The final game played at Oracle Arena had been a true basketball classic. The scores were tied in the final quarter, and both teams struggled to score in the final minutes. LeBron's block on Andre Iguodala's fast break toward the basket was perhaps the most iconic moment of the finals series. LeBron's block became one of the most unforgettable defensive plays in basketball history, said Nichols, and afterward, Kyrie Irving's three-pointer brought the championship to the Cavaliers. The final score was 93-89, and the Cleveland Cavaliers had come back from 3-1 down to become champions. This was the first championship in Cavaliers history, and Cleveland City's first major sports success in 52. Rachel Nichols turned back to her guests. So now that this audio recording has surfaced, does it change our perspective on the 2016 finals? Paul Pierce thoughtfully replied, I think this recording helps us better understand the dramatic atmosphere of those finals. LeBron has been known as King James throughout his career, and some players couldn't accept that. Klay's reaction is a reflection of that. Kendrick Perkins made a more direct comment. This recording helps us better understand LeBron's motivation in those finals. Klay's Man's League comment had personally targeted LeBron, and LeBron responded on the court by scoring 41 points in 2 consecutive games and turning the series around. Rachel Nichols moved to the final section of the program. We've asked for statements from both LeBron James and Klay Thompson's camps regarding the emergence of this audio recording. We haven't received an official response yet, but a source close to LeBron said, that final series is in the past. LeBron is now focused on other goals at this stage of his career. Klay Thompson's representatives are maintaining their silence so far. However, former Warriors assistant coach Brian Collins made this statement about the recording. This recording documents an important moment in basketball history. I kept this to myself for years, but I believe fans have a right to know the truth. Rachel Nichols made this comment as she concluded the program. The 2016 NBA Finals was already one of the most dramatic series in basketball history. Now with this audio recording, we've learned about the tension that took place behind the scenes of that series. This argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson was a momentary confrontation we didn't see on court, but whose effects we felt. Just a few hours after the program aired, social media was buzzing with this audio recording. The hashtags LeBron vs Klay, 2016 Finals and secret recording were trending on Twitter. Former and current NBA players also began sharing their opinions on the matter. Draymond Green addressed the topic on his own podcast. I was on the court during those finals, and yes, the tension was high. I didn't know exactly what went down between LeBron and Klay, but now that I hear these recordings, some things make more sense. Green continued, recalling the timeout moment in that famous Game 6. Klay seemed a bit upset during that timeout, but I didn't know the details. Now I understand that he had a serious argument with LeBron. Former NBA player and current analyst Richard Jefferson commented on the matter in another ESPN program. Jefferson was a member of the Cavaliers squad that won the 2016 championship with LeBron. I was on the bench during that timeout, but I didn't hear the argument between LeBron and Klay, Jefferson said. However, after the timeout, there was a different fire in LeBron's eyes. He seemed even more focused. Now that I hear these recordings, I understand why. Jefferson also spoke about LeBron's leadership style. LeBron is a player who generally avoids verbal confrontations on the court. But if you provoke him enough, he responds with his performance. And that night, that's exactly what he did. 24 hours after the recording was released, Klay Thompson finally broke his silence. In a statement posted on his Instagram account, he wrote, "The 2016 Finals was a high-tension series. What's said on the court should stay on the court. We lost that series. Cleveland earned their championship. Today I'm a different player, and I've learned a lot since then." LeBron James didn't make a direct statement about the issue, but he shared an old photo on his Twitter account, the moment he raised the Larry O'Brien trophy after the 2016 championship. He only put a crown emoji under the photo, a reference to his King James nickname. ESPN continued to investigate the matter in depth. The next day, on the Jump program, Rachel Nichols brought up another detail. According to our sources, after that argument in Game 6, LeBron James gathered his teammates and said, "We're going to win this series, I promise." And just as he told Klay, they came back from 3-1 down and became champions. This new information once again highlighted LeBron's leadership and mental toughness. Coming back from 3-1 down was something no team had ever accomplished in NBA history. And perhaps that argument with Klay Thompson had given LeBron extra motivation. Klay Thompson's "this is still a man's league" comment had resonated in the basketball world and was perceived by LeBron as a personal challenge. LeBron responded to this challenge on the court and led his team to a historic championship. Another interesting dimension of the argument was the relationship between the two players in subsequent years. LeBron James and Klay Thompson faced each other again in the 2017 and 2018 finals, with the Warriors winning both series. However, no obvious tension was observed between the two players in these matchups. Basketball historian Howard Beck commented on this situation. "Competition between professional athletes is natural, but it usually remains within the bounds of respect." LeBron and Klay continued to act professionally after that momentary emotional outburst. At the end of the program, Rachel Nichols posed this question to viewers: Does this audio recording change the story of the 2016 finals? Maybe, but what's certain is that final series was a turning point in LeBron James's career, bringing a championship to Cleveland, coming back from 3-1 down, and delivering one of the most dominant performances in basketball history became an important part of his legacy. And now we know that behind this achievement, there was a moment not captured by cameras, an argument with Klay Thompson during a timeout. Perhaps that moment was the spark that completed LeBron's transformation from Chosen One to King James. A week after the audio recording surfaced, NBA legend and LeBron's close friend Dwayne Wade shared his thoughts on the matter. "I played alongside LeBron for years. I'm one of the people who knows him best, and I can tell you that the best way to motivate him is to tell him he can't do something." Klay's words did exactly that. Wade described LeBron's performance in the 2016 finals as the peak of his career. Coming back from 3-1 down and defeating the team with the best regular season record in history, "I can't think of a greater achievement." And perhaps that timeout argument gave LeBron the final push he needed. The emergence of the audio recording continued to make waves in the basketball community. But perhaps the most interesting reaction came from Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Kerr said the following at a press conference about the issue: "I was busy giving tactics during that timeout, so I didn't hear the argument between LeBron and Klay. But I can say that a lot of things are said on the court and on the sidelines during finals. Most of these are things said in the intensity and emotion of the moment." Kerr took a critical stance regarding his former assistant coach Brian Collins leaking the recording. "As a member of a coaching staff, recording private moments within the team and sharing them later is not ethical. This damages the trust environment within the team." Shortly after this statement, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver also made a statement regarding the issue. "As the NBA, we respect the private spaces of our players and coaches. What happens in locker rooms and team timeouts is the internal business of teams. Taking and sharing such recordings without permission is against league policies." Silver's statement implied that former coach Brian Collins' behavior did not meet NBA standards. However, the recording had already been leaked to the public and couldn't be taken back. 2 weeks after the audio recording surfaced, LeBron James finally made a direct statement about the matter. While answering questions from the press after a Los Angeles Lakers practice session, he addressed the argument from the 2016 finals. "That final series was one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my career. Words said on the court generally stay on the court. But since this recording has surfaced, yes, there was an argument between Klay and me. These kinds of things happen in competitive environments. What's important is how you react afterward." When asked how that argument affected his performance, LeBron replied, "I always try to give my best on the court, but sometimes you need extra motivation. That night was a critical game for our team, and we had to do our best, and we did." LeBron's statement displayed a professional and mature approach. He didn't deny the argument, but he didn't want to make a big deal out of it either. For him, that finals series was now history, and he was focused on new goals in his career. Klay Thompson avoided making further comments about the matter. After a Warriors practice session, he dismissed reporters' questions by saying, "That issue is closed, I'm looking forward." A month after the audio recording surfaced, ESPN released a documentary, 2016: The Untold Story of the Finals. This documentary examined the behind-the-scenes of that finals series in depth through interviews with players and coaches. The argument between LeBron and Klay formed an important part of the documentary. Former Cleveland Cavaliers player Iman Shumpert, speaking in the documentary, shared new details about what happened in the locker room that night. "After we won Game 6, when LeBron came to the locker room, there was a different energy about him. He told us, 'We're going to win this series, make sure of it.' I had never seen that determination in his eyes before." One of the most striking moments of the documentary was the statements from Luke Walton, who was an assistant coach for the Warriors that season. Walton explained how morale declined in the Warriors squad. "After Game 6, a sense of panic began to develop in the team. Everything was going perfectly when we were up 3-1, but after losing 2 games in a row, some players began to doubt themselves. Klay was usually our calmest player, but after his argument with LeBron during that timeout, his concentration was disrupted too." The documentary also featured an interview with NBA legend Kobe Bryant. Bryant revealed that he had spoken with LeBron on the phone after Game 6 of the finals. "LeBron called me and said, 'Kobe, we're going to win this series, I have no doubt.' The confidence in his voice was incredible. I told him, 'I believe in you, the series isn't over yet.' LeBron's mindset was that of a true champion." In the final section of the documentary, Basketball Hall of Fame member and former NBA player Isaiah Thomas evaluated the historical significance of that finals series. The 2016 finals was a turning point not just for Cleveland, but for LeBron's career. Coming back from 3-1 down and defeating a team that won 73 games is one of the greatest achievements in basketball history. And now we know that behind this achievement was an argument that took place during a timeout and wasn't captured on camera. The documentary ended with LeBron James's famous block in Game 7. As the iconic moment known as the block was shown on screen, the narrator said these words, "Sometimes in sports the greatest moments are inspired by events that happen when the cameras are off." LeBron James's promise to Klay Thompson may have been the spark that triggered the most dramatic comeback in basketball history. After the documentary aired, the term "the block" gained a new meaning on social media. It now symbolized not just LeBron's famous defense against Andre Iguodala, but also LeBron's response to Klay Thompson's words. A few months later, Klay Thompson discussed the lessons he learned from that finals series in an interview with The Ringer. "I learned a lot in 2016. Perhaps the most important lesson was not to celebrate before finishing the job. We felt very comfortable when we were up 3-1, but nothing is guaranteed in basketball. Against a player like LeBron, anything can happen until the final buzzer sounds." Although Klay avoided making direct comments about his argument with LeBron, he expressed his respect for LeBron. "LeBron is one of the greatest players in basketball history. Competing against him was one of the most challenging and educational experiences of my career." Basketball analysts argued that this audio recording further cemented LeBron James's place in sports history. ESPN analyst Max Kellerman made this comment. "This recording shows that LeBron is a legendary player not just with his physical abilities but also with his mental toughness. Saying we're going to win this series in response to Klay Thompson's words and then actually accomplishing this is the greatest proof of his leadership quality." The 2016 NBA Finals continues to be one of the most talked about series in basketball history despite years having passed. The revelation of that secret argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson added a new dimension to the story of those finals. A sports magazine examined this event in an article titled "Promise and Championship: LeBron James's Response to Klay Thompson." The article included these words, "The greatest moments in sports history are usually remembered for the performance on the field, but sometimes moments that happen behind the scenes can be the sparks that trigger these performances." LeBron James's promise to Klay Thompson and his subsequent fulfillment of it has become one of the most unforgettable stories in basketball history. About a year after the audio recording surfaced, a notable moment occurred between LeBron James and Klay Thompson during a game between the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers. During pre-game warm-ups, the two players met at center court and hugged each other. This brief but meaningful moment was captured by cameras and made waves on social media. At the post-game press conference, a journalist asked LeBron if this moment was related to the argument they had during the 2016 finals. LeBron smiled and gave this answer, "Competition in basketball can be intense, especially in the finals. But what happens on the court stays on the court. Klay is a great player and I've always respected him." Thompson displayed a similar approach. "LeBron and I have faced each other in the finals for years. There's a competition between us, but there's also respect." The words said in 2016 were spoken in the heat of the moment. What's important is being able to maintain professionalism even while competing on the court. These statements showed the maturity and professionalism between the two great players. Even while fiercely competing on the court, they managed to respect each other off the court. NBA historian and writer Jackie McMullen evaluated the place of this event in basketball culture. In the Michael Jordan era, competition was much more personal. There could be real animosity between players. In today's NBA, however, players manage to respect each other even while competing. This situation between LeBron and Klay reflects the spirit of modern basketball. 2 years after the audio recording was leaked, Brian Collins, the former Warriors assistant coach, explained in a podcast program why he kept this recording and why he later revealed it. "My phone was recording during that timeout because I always recorded timeout tactical discussions for coaching purposes. The argument between LeBron and Klay was recorded completely by coincidence. I kept this to myself for years because it was a private moment within the team. However, over time, I began to think this was an important document for basketball history. I decided that people had a right to know the behind-the-scenes of that unforgettable final series." Collins's explanation brought about ethical discussions. While some basketball commentators argued that recording and sharing private moments within a team was wrong, others suggested that documenting important moments in sports history was valuable. ESPN's famous sports documentary series 30 for 30 released a documentary titled 3-1, The Greatest Comeback in History, on the 5th anniversary of the 2016 NBA Finals. The argument between LeBron James and Klay Thompson was also examined in detail in the documentary. NBA legend Charles Barkley, speaking in the documentary, made this comment: "When I heard that audio recording, I better understood why LeBron was so determined." Klay's "this is still a man's league" comment must have really triggered LeBron, and LeBron gave his answer on the court. "This is one of the greatest I'll show you moments in basketball history." LeBron James said with a smile in the documentary, "Sometimes you need extra motivation. That night my team needed me, and I had to do my best." Klay's words: "Yes, I heard them and something changed inside me, but ultimately, you have to speak with your performance on the court." Klay Thompson took a more philosophical approach. "Basketball is just a game after all. You win, you lose. We lost in 2016, but we became champions the next 2 years. What's important is always looking forward and working to be better." In the final scene of the documentary, LeBron James and Klay Thompson were sitting side by side, watching that famous Game 6. The two players were joking about the argument that night and sharing how they remembered that moment. This scene showed how, with the passage of time, the rivalry between two great players had matured and turned into respect. The director of the documentary explained this final scene: "Bringing LeBron and Klay together was the most challenging but most satisfying part of this documentary. Both players hesitated at first but eventually agreed, and the result was truly special. Two great players remembering that unforgettable moment together and making peace with it was the most beautiful reflection of the spirit of sports." The 2016 NBA Finals has been recorded as one of the most dramatic series in basketball history. The Cleveland Cavaliers' comeback from 3-1 down to become champions under LeBron James's leadership is considered one of the greatest achievements in sports history. And now we know that behind this achievement was a moment not seen by cameras, not broadcast by televisions, an argument during a timeout between LeBron James and Klay Thompson that changed the course of history. "Basketball history is full of great numbers, incredible dunks, and unforgettable championships," wrote a basketball magazine. "But sometimes the most important moments aren't captured on camera." The argument during a timeout in Game 6 of the 2016 Finals was perhaps the most critical moment of that unforgettable comeback. There are some moments in the sports world that define a player's character, mindset, and leadership. That timeout in Game 6 of the 2016 Finals was such a moment for LeBron James. His promise, "We're going to win this series," in response to Klay Thompson's "this is still a man's league" comment, and his subsequent fulfillment of that promise, became an important part of his legend. And perhaps the block, one of the most unforgettable moments in basketball history, was not just a physical move, but also the tangible manifestation of a word, a promise, a challenge. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. What do you think about this topic? Please write in the comments below. See you in the next video.